Good morning, distinguished guests, alliance partners, champions, ambassadors. It's a pleasure to be with all of you this morning as we kick off the Clean Cooking Forum 2015. We've got 4 days of insightful sessions, educational site visits, exciting cultural events to help us celebrate the momentum and the excitement that's occurring here in the cook stoves and fuel sector. I'd like to begin by thanking members of the Ghanaian government who are present with us this morning. Minister Bois, thank you very much for attending and opening the event. And Deputy Minister Akon, thank you for stepping in with your strong words of encouragement and inspiration. Their active and growing engagement, in addition to, as all of you know, Minister Hannah Tete has played a significant role in the alliance since its inception, but their growing and active engagement has and continues to be essential to our work. I have to say, though, the morning was stolen by Pamela. I just felt you were so inspiring and really set it straight in terms of what we're all here to do. She said it best. You know, we are here to ensure that girls like Pamela and not just in Ghana but around the world have the opportunity to pursue their dreams, whatever they might be. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't include cooking, but it certainly could include cooking in a much more efficient and cleaner manner. So let me kick off here by talking about, why we've chosen Ghana. It's a really exciting time to be here in Ghana. You've heard from the ministers, you've heard from Rocky, Stephen, and others over the last few years. It's a country that's taken this issue of clean cooking and run with it. In Ghana, some 80% of the population cooks with solid fuels, and exposure to open fires and traditional stoves is responsible for the premature deaths of thousands of Ghanaians each year. But this is changing, and it's changing quickly. We've seen strong growth in Ghana's partner base, and GACO, as Mr. Nicholas Menu had just talked about, has helped move the sector forward through local advocacy and outreach. Alliance grant programs have helped multiple enterprises and entrepreneurs catalyze growth and expand services here, enterprises such as Clean Cook, Ghana Cylinder, Toyola, among many, many others. Ghana also now has 2 testing labs and is contributing to work to establish international standards and a national standards and labeling program. The progress of Ghana's cook stoves and fuel sector is a fitting example of how the comprehensive approach supported by the Alliance and delivered through a wide variety of in-country stakeholders can deliver on its full potential. All this and more make Ghana a really fitting place to celebrate the growing momentum in this sector. As I look out over this large and distinguished group, it's just truly a thrill to see so many passionate advocates for clean cooking. The cook stoves and fuel sector, represented by all of us gathered here today, has helped move this issue forward at a pace that many thought impossible just 5 years ago when we all collectively launched the Alliance. Now, 5 years later, a movement is clearly building across the cook stoves and fuel sector. Just halfway through our 10-year plan, the Alliance is now over 1,300 public, private, and nonprofit partners, and we've made strong progress in developing a sector that is poised for sustainable growth. In fact, through the work of all of our partners, we are targeted to exceed our midterm goals. At the end of last year, 2014, we had 28 million clean and/or efficient stoves reaching households in the developing world. And we're projecting more than 45 million through the end of 2015. Several of our partners are celebrating major milestones. Congratulations to Stove Plus for hitting 50,000 stoves this year, Projector Mirador for hitting 100,000, and a big congratulations to EnviroFit, one of the largest actors in this space, who announced its 1 millionth stove just last week. Together, we've built a solid foundation for transformative change. I'd like to talk for a moment about some of the key areas that have helped propel the sector forward. One of the most critical and successful areas of our work has been around strengthening supply. As demand for cook stoves and fuels grows, supply must keep pace to ensure that consumers are able to purchase the products that they want and need. As a sector, we've been able to strengthen supply through increased funding for growth and capacity building of enterprises and entrepreneurs at various stages of maturity. We've also launched enterprise training initiatives like the Boost program, the Stove Plus Academy, efforts by GIZ and GVEP, which teach business skills to local cook stove entrepreneurs. To date, we've supported hundreds of small and medium-sized enterprises across the sector through a wide array of grant programs like the Spark Fund, the Pilot Innovation Fund, the Women's Empowerment Program, and the Catalytic Small Grants effort, in our continuing effort to strengthen the pipeline of investment-ready cook stove and fuels enterprises. As a result of some of these efforts, the sector has also seen growing investment to the tune of $60 million, and cooking enterprises are piquing the interest of many others. Just in the past few months, we've seen BioLite, Burn, Greenway Appliances secure Series A investments. We've also seen the entry of non-traditional cook stove and fuel actors to our base of the pyramid market. So whether it's Prestige in India or Medea Group in China, or many others working in this area, the sector is increasingly appealing and attractive for corporations looking to provide products and services to the base of the pyramid. Another area of progress has been in standards and testing, which are critical to ensure that we deliver and maximize benefits. Just last week, ISO Technical Committee 285 for cook stoves, in partnership with the Alliance, met in Accra to complete a document for internationally harmonized laboratory testing. We will be able to graduate this document to the next stage, during which 40 countries participating in the committee will review the draft to ensure that international standards also accommodate the diversity of national goals. In addition, there are now 16 cook stove and fuel testing centers around the world with enhanced capacity. These efforts are enabling consumers, distributors, governments, investors, and donors to make informed purchasing decisions when it comes to stoves and fuels. The base of evidence in the sector has also been expanding, now with more than 40 research studies across gender, climate, markets, health, enabling investigators to produce the critical research necessary to build the case for global action on clean cooking. We've already seen strong commitments to funding for larger scale research efforts, including from the Centers for Disease Control and the National Institutes of Health. The public health community is increasingly interested in integrating cook stoves and clean fuels as a non-traditional intervention that will achieve health outcomes. The results of 3 ongoing studies that focus on child health outcomes in Nepal, Nigeria, and Ghana are due out next year, and they are showing promising results. Populations who have never used clean fuels, including ethanol and LPG, are adopting the fuels intensively and near exclusively where possible. As a result, major reductions in exposure are being observed, and preliminary analysis suggests that child health benefits, including improved infant lung function and reduced pneumonia during pregnancy. So please be on the lookout for more on this in 2016. We know that access to energy is a critical driver of gender equality. In just a few short years, we've gone from well-known anecdotes about how the lack of clean or efficient cook stoves and fuels affect women and girls to now clear evidence that gender-informed business models better reach consumers, support women in the value chain, and enhance the customer satisfaction and overall adoption. As a result, we've recently seen a surge in attention around the gender-energy nexus. I've combined the two there. The World Bank, USAID, UN Women, Energia, Mercy Corps, and others all have programs now that are specifically focused on the role that women can play in scaling access to clean cooking solutions. Now, one of the reasons Minister Hannah Tete was pulled away was to have a discussion around with the EU on the migration crisis. And now we're seeing increasingly, with nearly 60 million crisis-affected households around the world, access to energy is as important as ever. We estimate that close to 4 million cook stoves that will serve more than 20 million people will be bulk purchased by humanitarian agencies by 2020. And we are working to ensure that they are of the highest quality possible and that they're being distributed appropriately. In the last year alone, 160 humanitarian energy staff from over 25 countries and 45 organizations have been trained on increasing access to energy in humanitarian settings through alliance programs in partnership with UNHCR and other members of the Safe Humanitarian Working Group. With strong support from DFID, we are also increasing our investment in behavior change communication to spur the adoption of clean cooking. We've conducted customer-focused research studies into the barriers to purchase and consistent use, and we're making the results available to the sector and putting it into the campaigns in our focus countries. Now, while we constantly assess our strategies and evaluate progress, this halfway point through our journey is a time for deeper reflection. Progress does not come without bumps in the road. As in any successful enterprise, we all must continue to learn and adjust based on what is required to grow this dynamic ecosystem of actors into a cohesive, sustainable, healthy market that can meet the needs of millions of households around the world. We know one thing for sure: there clearly is a momentum growing. But it's a fragile momentum, and it has taken well-coordinated efforts by all of us in this room and thousands more to achieve it. Our collective fire is burning brightly and cleanly and efficiently, I might add, but we need to be aware of the potential issues that may dampen our flame and slow this momentum we've all worked so hard to achieve. Take standards, for example. I mentioned previously that 40 countries are working towards an agreement on setting ISO-approved international standards. It's taken significant effort to bring such a wide array of standards and testing perspectives together, and we now have a higher level of agreement and trust than we've ever had. But we still need additional review to ensure global input and buy-in, and make sure that the standards enable both international collaboration and local adaptability. Technology performance, use, and impacts are complex and depend on many factors. So TC285 is also diving into the difficult task of standards that address the wide variability of cooking practices, fuels, and to bridge laboratory and field testing. Continuing the forward progress on standards is critical to prevent backsliding towards a past where stove and fuel performance were difficult to understand and use. We will also need to continue to build agreement around a complete package of evaluation methodologies that cover the complexity and connectivity of this issue. Clarity in use of terminology is also critical. Progress with international standards and our research findings will support improved clarity in the terminology used across our sector and how we talk about our issue and the work that we do. We as a sector need to be clear about how we use certain terms like clean and how we use certain terms like efficient, and what they really mean in order to maintain the highest quality products and deliver the impacts that we all desire. We look forward to discussing over the course of this week how we use these terms and how we apply our vocabulary to influence policy, public awareness, and consumer awareness to help this market grow. This market growth will require focus not only on adoption of clean and efficient stoves, but also on fuels. To achieve the range of benefits we desire for the sector requires support for a mix of stoves and fuels. The Alliance will continue to do so as we move energy access to scale over the next 5 years and beyond. And we have a committed and passionate group of stakeholders here for each of these impact areas, and I know that all of you will hold us accountable to this. To maintain the momentum that we've built and take our sector to scale will also require significant resources. A 2015 World Bank report projected 4.7 billion, that's B for billion, would be needed to ensure universal access to clean cooking energy by 2030. Despite broad support from donors and the investment community, we remain far short of what is required. And speaking of resources, there's one more thing that I'd like to clarify. Many of you may remember the $413 million in pledges and commitments to the sector made at last year's Cook Stoves Future Summit. It was truly a significant moment for the clean cooking sector. Yet, many remain just that, commitments, which is threatening to slow our collective progress and our sector's fragile momentum. We are extremely grateful for the few commitments that have been realized and distributed to many of you in the sector, including SNV, NDEV, WHO, and others. The Alliance Secretariat is also a small part of that, and we continue to use what we have realized to catalyze and scale the sector. The sector needs more resources to support many of you out here, entrepreneurs who are at the cusp of profitability and who are poised for growth. Resources are also required for demand creation to change consumer attitudes and behaviors and convert stoves from a push to a pull product. And we need resources from market facilitation to play the intermediary role that the Alliance Secretariat and others play in the sector, driving it forward by creating the enabling environment, strengthening supply, and enhancing demand. As we look forward to what is to come over the next 5 years, we need to continue to build on previous successes while working towards our ambitious goal. I'd like to take just a few minutes to talk about some of these key areas that the Alliance Secretariat will be focusing on. First, now that we have clarity on the benefits of clean and more efficient cooking and shown that a market-based approach can work, it's time to mainstream the issue of clean cooking and household air pollution. Over the past 5 years, we've all helped drive cooking to the highest levels of international development, while also ensuring that global leaders are making the connection between cook stoves and fuels and the many other areas that our work impacts, including health, climate, gender, livelihoods, and the environment. Clean cook stoves and fuels now have a big role in the recently developed Sustainable Development Goals, and we have been working for the inclusion of cook stoves as part of the new indicators under the goals for health, gender equality, and energy, which could lead to broader support, financing, and accountability for our priorities. Also, just last month, the G20 energy ministers addressed cooking energy for the first time in their official communiqué, and we expect it to be part of the G20 Leaders Summit next week in Turkey. Second, while we continue championing the issue at the global level, to ensure the sector's long-term sustainability, we must also place added emphasis on building and supporting local capacity. Earlier, I spoke about the success we've seen in Ghana's own alliance and the cooking sector with GACO. This type of local support is critical to the future of building this market. Many of these local alliances, whether they're in Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, or Guatemala, are still in their infancy and will require patient nurturing and support to get to the point of sustainability. As many of you know, an enterprise in its first year or two can look dramatically different from one that is 4 or 5 years old. Let's remember that these local alliances are continuing to grow and evolve. We should all play an active role in helping to shape them. Having said that, we're already seeing some strong locally driven efforts. India is a great example, as shown by the growth of the country's local manufacturing facilities, increased government engagement, and cooking as a new programmatic focus for many development NGOs like CARE, Art of Living, Help Age, and others. We're seeing it in China, where last month we joined government officials and local entrepreneurs to launch 7 pilots that will help build capacity and share knowledge as the country continues to move towards cleaner stoves and fuels, and their interest in supporting locally driven efforts here on the continent of Africa. We are committed to this combined, and I should add, well-orchestrated global and local approach. Third, while we've put and will continue to put extensive resources into strengthening supply, we must also work to enhance demand, and this will be achieved through building local awareness and encouraging behavior change. Changing behaviors ingrained over centuries will not be easy. We know that if given access and means to select from a wide variety of clean cooking technologies, millions of men and women will solve the problem of household air pollution through their very purchasing and daily use decisions. It's up to all of us to ensure that consumers can make informed decisions, and those decisions are rewarded with high-quality stoves and fuels that will enable the market to support itself in the long term. Fourth, the sector currently offers its customers a wide variety of solutions, and it must continue to do so. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. In India, where gas distribution and electrification are making huge inroads, customers have been able to skip to LPG and electric induction cooking. Here in Ghana, as you've heard the minister say, there's a strong movement towards LPG as well. In other countries, consumers are taking smaller steps. They may have access to improved stoves, but not clean-burning fuels. And in fact, a clean-burning stove and fuel may be many, many years away for some people. But we can't allow ourselves to wait for the perfect solution when high-quality, affordable stoves exist that deliver impacts for people and the planet today. This is not a controversial decision. It's a pragmatic one, and part of a common strategy among many organizations that is already delivering huge benefits. So as we look to the future, we must remain committed to supporting the sector, our local partners as they grow, mainstreaming this issue of clean cooking to a wider variety of actors in the development and environment fields, to driving demand through awareness and behavior change, and continuing to support a wide variety of solutions in our journey to clean and efficient. Above all, the Alliance remains committed to our market-based approach, to our 100 million by 2020 goal, and ultimately to the universal adoption of clean cook stoves and fuels. Former UN Secretary Kofi Annan, a Ghanaian and a longtime advocate of clean cooking, recently described quite succinctly where we are at this very moment. Secretary Annan said, quote, "For too long, cooking has been a silent killer in developing countries around the world. Finally, we are seeing a growing momentum around this issue. Thanks to the Alliance and its many partners, millions more are now using clean and efficient cook stoves and fuels. We must continue to build on this new momentum and ensure that solving this global problem remains a global priority," end quote. Secretary Annan's words ring true. Together, we've made tremendous progress and celebrated many successes in this sector. But we can't stop until we reach a world where cooking doesn't kill. This opportunity is real, and the time is now. Our journey continues, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.